This is an MJA Inc. Investigations warning. This MJA podcast is rated E for explicit. Some details of a case and language used on this podcast might be upsetting to some of our listeners. Listeners' discretion is advised. And for those who are still with us, kick back and enjoy the show. Welcome to our MJ podcast, the series, Cases from the Deep Freezer, Episode 8, Part 11, 8 Unsolved Cold Cases. The NCIC reports that over 600,000 people are reported missing each year. Some adults and children are found quickly alive and well, but several thousands remain missing. As of 2022, the NCIC has over 97,000 missing person cases active. As a nation, law enforcement has to do a lot better. Missing persons has become an epidemic with the numbers on the rise each year. Our law enforcement agencies, volunteer missing person groups, and advocates are overwhelmed by the high numbers of missing persons. They have vanished without a trace, leaving no evidence or direction for investigators to follow. One minute, they are there alive and well, and the next moment, they are gone without a trace. It's like the Grim Reaper is on every corner of our nation, taking victim after victim with no end in sight. Good evening. My name is Mark, and I will be your host for tonight's show. Joining me later will be our co-host, Olivia. You would think some of these cases would be ripped from the headlines. The truth is, most cases we do on our podcast hasn't had media coverage needed and has no active investigation. Please join us as we step back into time. Olivia and I will be profiling 8 unsolved cases from the deep freezer. Case 1. It was on November 11th, 1980, is when 33-year-old David Richard Williams, a white male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Creston Junction, Wyoming. Case 2. It was on November 21st, 1983, is when 26-year-old Karen Lee Valadez Blackburn, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Case 3. It was on October 23rd, 1975, is when 21-year-old Michael Scott McLaughlin, a white male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Syracuse, New York. Case 4. It was on March 27th, 1985, is when 22-year-old Karen L. Wilson, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Albany, New York, in a village called Colonial. Case 5. It was on May 11th, 1975, is when 54-year-old Charles R. Fletcher, a black male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Glassboro, New Jersey. Case 6. It was on July 16, 1996, is when 36-year-old Susan Walsh, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Nutley, New Jersey. Case 7. It was on October 25, 2004, is when 54-year-old Lawrence Arthur Farrell, a white male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Chelsea, Maine. Case 8. It was on December 12, 1976, is when 31-year-old Pauline Rourke, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Fairfield, Maine. Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, Olivia will be on the line, and we will profile 8 unsolved missing person cold cases covering 4 states. Be back in a moment. Welcome to our MJ podcast, this series, Cases from the Deep Freezer, Episode 8, Part 11, 8 Unsolved Cold Cases. Welcome to the state of Wyoming. The Doe Network has 29 males and 19 females as listed as being missing from the state of Wyoming. Case 1. Welcome to Creston Junction, Wyoming. Missing male. It was on November 11th, 1980, is when 33-year-old David Richard Williams, a white male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Creston Junction, Wyoming. It was on that date at around 5:30 p.m. is when the 33-year-old Williams was last seen on Old Service Station Bar in Creston Junction. Williams placed a phone call to his wife while at the service station bar before leaving. Williams had a trucking business at the time of his disappearance, and the company was involved in hauling supplies to oil rigs in the area. The phone call to his wife was to let her know he was driving south to check an oil rig and would be home late. The 33-year-old Williams entered the passenger side of a brown or tan Chevrolet Blazer with an unidentified white male subject driving, and the vehicle headed south on Highway 789. Williams has not been seen or heard from again, and his body has never been located. Person of interest. The Chevrolet Blazer was believed to belong to David Barker Jr. of Upton, Wyoming, and police considered him the only suspect in the case. It isn't clear what type of relationship Williams had with Barker and why Williams would get into Barker's vehicle. You would think if Barker was an employee of Williams or an oil rig employee, that would have been investigated, and I would think it would have been released to the media. If you have any info concerning disappearance of 33-year-old David Richard Williams, please call the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office at 307-922-5300.
Case 2. Welcome to Cheyenne, Wyoming. It was on November 21st, 1983, when 26-year-old Karen Lee Valdez Blackburn, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Cheyenne, Wyoming. On November 20th, 1983, Sergeant Karen Valdez Blackburn was last seen at a residence in Cheyenne, Wyoming. November 21st, 1983, Sergeant Karen Valdez Blackburn was reported missing from F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming. On November 20th, 1983, the 26-year-old Valdez Blackburn was last seen loading her yellow Dodge Ram pickup truck, Colorado plates, and a friend overheard her saying she was leaving. It is believed that Valdez Blackburn may have departed Wyoming and headed to Denver, Colorado to visit a friend. But no information has been uncovered that indicates Valdez Blackburn's whereabouts. On December 21st, 1983, the 26-year-old Karen Valdez Blackburn was placed on deserter status. However, her absence has not been validated as being voluntary or involuntary. If you have any info on the disappearance of Karen Valdez Blackburn, please call the Air Force Office of Special Investigations Cold Case Team, Chief John Fine at 877-246-1453.
Welcome to the state of New York. The DOE network has 165 males and 161 females as listed as being missing from the state of New York. Case 3. Welcome to Syracuse, New York. Missing male. It was on October 23, 1975, is when 21-year-old Michael Scott McLaughlin, a white male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Syracuse, New York. It was on that date is when the 21-year-old McLaughlin was last seen by his roommates. McLaughlin withdrew from the Syracuse School of Art just days prior to his disappearance in order to visit his girlfriend, but he never made the trip. The 21-year-old McLaughlin did not attend classes after October 20th, 3 days before he vanished. Friends who lived with him on Harvard Place said that McLaughlin left without incident on October 23, 1975, to go to lunch on Marshall Street. Although police later learned that the 20-year-old McLaughlin had already had lunch and had not been observed in the student shopping area by anyone they interviewed. Friends said when McLaughlin left the residence, he was carrying $3,000 that his father had sent him to buy a car. The truck that McLaughlin then owned, for which he already had buyers for, was found parked in the driveway of the house at Harvard Place where he lived with the other students. Michael McLaughlin was not reported missing until early November after his father unsuccessfully tried to reach him by phone. It was most unusual for the 21-year-old McLaughlin to be gone for more than a day or two. Since October 23, 1975, there has been no activity on his Social Security number or McLaughlin's checkbook, which is also missing, but it has not been used. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Syracuse Police Department, Criminal Investigations Division at 315-442-5222.
Case 4. Welcome to Albany, New York. Missing female. It was on March 27, 1985, when 22-year-old Karen I. Wilson, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Albany, New York, in a village called, help me out here, Mac, Colony?
That's what I get, Colony or Colony.
Colony. Okay. It was around 7:20 p.m. when the 22-year-old Wilson was last seen at the Colony Center on Central Avenue and bought 2 T-shirts for an upcoming spring break trip to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Wilson had a tanning hut appointment, but it's unclear if she made the appointment, for no one at the salon remembers seeing her there. Investigators believe the 22-year-old Wilson, instead of taking the bus, Wilson walked down Central Avenue to Fuller Avenue towards the State University of New York, SUNY, at Albany, where the 22-year-old Wilson was a senior from Plattsburgh, New York. This came into play from other witnesses who claimed they last seen the 22-year-old Wilson walking on Fuller Avenue, and she has never been seen or heard from again. Investigators have been unable to locate the personal belongings that Wilson carried with her on the night of her disappearance. Investigators think the 22-year-old Wilson was abducted somewhere near the 6 Mile Waterworks, the entrance ramps to Interstate 90, westbound, and the Northway 87. The night was very dark, and the road not heavily traveled, and it would have been possible for a man to pull her into a vehicle in a matter of seconds without having any witnesses. A strange man was seen in the area around the time Wilson vanished, and a composite sketch was done, but he has never been identified and is being sought for questioning as a witness or as a suspect. Welcome to Serial Killer Avenue. It has been questioned if the Wilson case is related to missing female college student in central Vermont and another in Albany college female who went missing in 1998. There were 2 serial killers and 1 suspected serial killer working the same areas at that time. The suspected serial killer was caught in Saratoga Springs, New York, after kidnapping a female high school student in the school's parking lot as she walked to her car from a track practice. Come to find out, the suspected serial killer's crimes went back 21 years in the 1980s. He raped a neighbor when her husband was away on business. But I must say the composite sketch matches 2 of our suspects pretty damn close. But only one of the suspects has a connection to Vermont and Albany, New York, in the way of owning small businesses. If you have any info concerning the disappearance of 22-year-old Karen Wilson, please call the New York State Police at 518-783-3211.
Let's take a pause for the cause, and when we return, we will profile 4 more unsolved cold cases from the deep freezer. Be back in a moment.
You are not real. The reality of an observable entity designated by the term everyday life stands a good chance of remaining hypothetical for many people. You are not real. Indeed, the most striking feature of the present group for research on everyday life is obviously not the fact that it has not yet discovered anything. You are not, but the fact that the very existence of everyday life has been disputed from its very inception. And increasingly so with each new session of this conference. You are not real. Most of the talks we have heard so far have been by people who are not at all convinced that everyday life exists. You are not real. Since they haven't encountered it anywhere. You are not real. A group for research on everyday life with this attitude is comparable in every way to an expedition in search of the Yeti. You are not real. You are not real, which might similarly come to the conclusion that its core was merely a popular hoax.
Welcome back to our MJA podcast. This series, Cases from the Deep Freezer. Episode 8, Part 11, 8 Unsolved Cold Cases. Welcome to the state of New Jersey. The Doe Network has 91 males and 74 females listed as being missing from the state of New Jersey. Case 5. Welcome to Glassboro, New Jersey. Missing male. It was on May 11th, 1975 is when 54-year-old Charles R. Fletcher, a black male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Glassboro, New Jersey. It was on that date that Charles Fletcher called his mother to wish her Happy Mother's Day. This was the last time anyone heard from the 54-year-old Fletcher. According to his family, Fletcher was awarded the Purple Heart for injuries he suffered in the war. The 54-year-old Fletcher had metal plates in his head and arm. Fletcher suffered periods of disorientation that meant he sometimes went missing for a few weeks here and a few months there. Family members say that the 54-year-old Fletcher always returned to the family's stomping grounds around 20th and Cumberland, or landed for long stretches with friends in Glassboro, New Jersey, where he was last seen. Also on that day, Fletcher told his friends he was headed to Philly, and investigators could find no evidence that Fletcher traveled or made it to Philly. If you have any info concerning the disappearance of Charles Fletcher, please call the Philadelphia Police Department at 215-686-3093 or 215-686-8477.
Case 6. Welcome to New Jersey. Missing female. It was on July 16th, 1996, when 36-year-old Susan Walsh, a white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Nutley, New Jersey. Walsh was a freelance journalist for New York Weekly and occasionally worked as a stripper to support herself and son. Susan Walsh was last seen at her home by her estranged husband. The estranged husband of the 36-year-old Walsh told police that she went to use a payphone less than a block from their Washington Street apartment in Nutley. According to police, there is no record of any outgoing calls made from the payphones near Walsh's apartment the morning of her disappearance. At the time of 36-year-old Walsh's disappearance, her life had taken on a downward spiral. Walsh had started drinking after 12 years of sobriety and was getting sick. Even though the 36-year-old Walsh was having problems, she wouldn't have left behind her 11-year-old son, purse, keys, and pager. Foul play is suspected. If you have any info concerning the disappearance of 36-year-old Susan Walsh, please call the Nutley Police Department, Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, at 973-284-4940.
Welcome to the state of Maine. The Doe Network has 71 males and 18 females listed as being missing from the state of Maine. Case 7. Welcome to Chelsea, Maine. Missing male. It was on October 25th, 2004 is when 54-year-old Lawrence Arthur Farrell, a white male, went missing and vanished without a trace from Chelsea, Maine. Farrell was last seen in the Kennebec area riding his bike. The 54-year-old Farrell was reported missing in early November of 2004 by SSI staff members when Farrell failed to pick up his monthly benefits for November 2004. Before Farrell's disappearance, he lived with a man named Norris Perry, who was 64 years old and nothing but trouble. The 64-year-old Perry died by suicide in the winter of 2004 after leaving a voice message with his sister saying that he had killed Lawrence Farrell and that the body could be found in the brook behind their home. Maine State investigators used cadaver dogs and a backhoe to search for Lawrence Farrell's body for a month, but no traces of the man or his bicycle were ever found. If you have any info concerning the disappearance of 54-year-old Lawrence Farrell, please call the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit Central at 207-624-7143.
Case 8. Welcome to Maine. Missing female. It was on December 12, 1976, when 31-year-old Pauline Rourke, white female, disappeared and vanished without a trace from Fairfield, Maine. 31-year-old Rourke was last seen at her home in bed by her daughter, Honey, as she left for school. The 31-year-old Rourke and her daughter lived with a man named Albert P. Cochran. 31-year-old Rourke was scheduled to be questioned by the Maine State Police as a possible witness against Cochran in connection with the murder of Janet Baxter, who had been killed in November 1976. Albert Cochran did not know Baxter. He seemed obsessed with her murder after it happened, even taking the 31-year-old Rourke and her daughter to see the crime scene. Right after Rourke's disappearance, her daughter reported to police overhearing her mother and Cochran arguing the night before she disappeared. 31-year-old Rourke never made it to the interview with police about the November 1976 murder of Janet Baxter. Albert Cochran was convicted in 1998 of Janet Baxter's murder, even though he didn't confess to killing Rourke, that he knew her body was in a well. Police checked several different wells as per Cochran's instructions without any positive results. In 1964, Albert Cochran's family, his ex-wife, and 2 children were murdered in Joliet, Illinois.
Yes.
Cochran was sentenced to 50 to 75 years in prison for the killing of his ex-wife. He served only 11 years before being paroled. It's unclear whether Pauline Rourke knew about his conviction when she agreed to be his roommate. Rourke's body has not been recovered, and Cochran died in prison in 2017. If you have any info concerning this case, please call the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit at 207-624-7143.
Okay, Olivia, do you have anything you would like to add to these cases?
Well, the one in New York and Vermont, that serial killer, is that who I think it is?
Well, I can't
The
say
one from,
I can't say
the one
the
from
names.
Alaska?
Oh
The
no,
one from Alaska?
no,
No.
no, no,
No, because I thought right away it was him.
no, no.
No. But this last one was a doozy, huh?
Yeah, see, if you didn't say anything, I was going to say something about it. Here this guy was. I read about the case about his ex-wife and 2 children, and what it was is he pleaded guilty of killing his wife in a rage because she killed the 2 kids, and this, that, and the other, and so they come to a plea agreement. Even though he got that amount of time, okay, he was paroled after 11 years. He got 50 to 75 years and only done 11 years. And so see,
That I don't get.
this man shouldn't have been out on the streets. Then you wouldn't have this girl missing and the Baxter girl being murdered. You wouldn't, like I said, it's unthinkable. Like I said, he killed his ex-wife, and more likely you can say he killed his kids. He just put it off on her because she was dead. And
Sick.
so,
That's sick.
yeah.
How come they don't give them, how come they parole them? I don't get that.
You'd be surprised on some of the states that parole different people and give bond to different people that they don't have to. And like it's just unthinkable if
It is.
yeah, and like I said, and many of them, because of that, become repeat offenders, Where if they was stopped
Right.
the first time, which they should have
Wouldn't
been,
have happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
none of the rest would have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay.
all right. I'd like to thank Olivia for being on the show tonight. I would also like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in, for y'all have been so kind. I have a quote for you all. Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Mother Teresa. Always remember, folks, that if you ever get bored with nothing to do, well, take a walk deep into the woods. You might be surprised at what you might find. That's the end of our MJ podcast, the series Cases from the Deep Freezer. This has been episode 8, part 11, 8 Unsolved Cold Cases. And we say to all of you, good night from the camp in Morrisonville, New York, located in the Adirondack Mountains.
It starts with all I know. So unreal. Watch you I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to lose it all. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. It starts with all I know. So unreal. Watch you go. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even